So when you think of a volcano, what comes to mind? Probably a giant cone-shaped mountain, right? Maybe some lava? But what if I told you that's really only half the story? Volcanoes are, without a doubt, one of the most powerful forces on our planet. They're capable of terrifying destruction, but also, surprisingly, incredible acts of creation. They're basically proof that the Earth is a living, breathing thing.
And when I say destruction, I really mean it. Just look at this. This was the Waha'ula Visitor Center in Hawaii. In 1989, a slow-moving lava flow just consumed it. It's such a stark reminder that when a volcano lets loose, there is very little that can stand in its way.
And that right there brings us to the central paradox we're going to dig into. Are volcanoes just these agents of chaos and destruction, or is there this whole other side to them, a creative, maybe even a life-giving side? That's the big question we're going to try and answer.
To get to that answer, we have to look deep, way deep beneath the surface, inside what you could call Earth's fiery engine. We need to really understand what a volcano is and where all that incredible power actually comes from.
Okay, so here's a really important distinction. A volcano isn't just a mountain. You see, most mountains are formed when the Earth's crust kind of wrinkles and breaks. But a volcano, that's totally different. It's an opening, a vent. The mountain we see is just all the stuff that's been thrown out, piling up over thousands, even millions of years. It literally builds itself from the inside out.
All right, let's clear up something that trips a lot of people up: magma versus lava. Honestly, it's pretty simple. When that molten rock is still underground, packed with dissolved gas and under just immense pressure, we call it magma. The second it breaks through the surface and erupts, it's called lava. That's it. Same stuff, just a different location.
You know, the best way to think about magma is to picture this: an opened bottle of soda. The soda itself is the molten rock, and all that fizz, the carbonation, that's gas dissolved inside it, trapped under a whole lot of pressure. Now keep that image in your head, because we're about to see what happens when you shake that bottle up and pop the cap. Now, these magma chambers aren't just anywhere. Volcanoes tend to pop up in very specific places. You find them where tectonic plates are pulling apart from each other. That's a divergent boundary. You find them where one plate is diving underneath another, creating the famous ring of fire. That's a convergent boundary. And sometimes you just get a hot spot, which is like a fixed blowtorch from the mantle that just punches right through a plate as it moves over the top. That's exactly how the Hawaiian Islands were born.
So we've got our bottle of soda, our magma chamber, sitting there underground. So what causes the top to finally blow? How is all of that incredible pressure finally unleashed?
Well, it all starts with the magma rising. Because it's less dense than the solid rock around it, it's naturally buoyant. It wants to go up. And as it gets closer to the surface, the pressure drops. This is the critical moment. Just like opening that soda bottle, those dissolved gases start bubbling out and expanding like crazy. This builds up so much pressure that it searches for any weak spot in the crust until, boom, an eruption begins. And an eruption isn't just one thing. You know, it can be a relatively calm flow of fluid lava just pouring out of a vent, or it can be unbelievably explosive, shooting these dense clouds of what's called tephra, which is basically just shards of rock, high into the air. And then there's the fine ash, which is so light it can get carried by the wind for thousands of miles, seriously affecting weather and even air travel all over the world. The type of magma and the way it erupts is what gives each volcano its own unique identity. It's kind of like people, really. They have different shapes, different personalities. Some are kind of gentle and flowing, and others are steep and super explosive. Generally, you can sort them into three main types. First, you've got shield volcanoes, like the ones in Hawaii. They're built from runny lava that creates these broad, gentle slopes, kind of like a warrior shield. Then you have the classic postcard-perfect stratovolcanoes, like Mount Fuji. Their lava is really thick and sticky, so it builds up these steep, cone-shaped mountains that can erupt very explosively. And finally, you have the simplest kind, cinder cones, which are basically just piles of volcanic junk that's been blasted out from a single vent.
Okay, so now that we've got the science down, let's circle back to the human connection. How do we live alongside these incredible forces that can wipe out a city one day and create new land from scratch the next? The danger is very real. Just look at this number. Since the year 1700, volcanic eruptions have claimed more than 260,000 lives. And that's not just people killed directly by the eruption. It also includes those who died from starvation after their crops and livestock were completely wiped out. And this right here is one of the deadliest reasons why. This is a pyroclastic flow.
It's a superheated, fast-moving avalanche of gas, ash, and rock that can travel at hundreds of miles per hour. It incinerates literally everything in its path. It is without a doubt the most destructive force a volcano can unleash.
But, and this is a huge but, for all of that destruction, there's an equally powerful force of creation at work. This quote really gets to the heart of it. The exact same ash and rock that can bury entire towns can eventually create some of the richest farmland on the entire planet.
And this isn't some abstract idea. People have known about this for thousands of years. The area around Mount Vesuvius, the volcano that famously destroyed Pompeii, has been intensively farmed since before Roman times because the soil is just unbelievably rich. Every square foot is used for vines and vegetables and fruit. The same thing is true in New Zealand, where their world-class agriculture is built on a foundation of old volcanic ash. People risk living near these things for the most basic reason of all: food.
So what's the secret? Why is this soil so good? Well, the best way to think about it is that volcanic ash is kind of like a time-release capsule. The rock itself is just packed with all these different elements that are essential for plant growth, and as it weathers and breaks down over time, it slowly releases these nutrients into the soil, creating this lasting fertility that's really hard to find anywhere else.
So in the end, volcanoes aren't really good or evil. They're just a fundamental part of our living planet. They build continents. They even helped create the air we breathe. So the real question for us is, how can we learn to respect their immense power while also safely harnessing the incredible gifts they have to offer?